If we legalise assisted suicide, euthanasia by another name, then what we're doing is saying it's better to take someone's life and to care for them. Care and kill can't be used as alternates, as synonyms. They're very different things. It would change our relationships with our doctors as well, because we would be putting them in the position of taking our lives. So this isn't about suicide, this is about getting someone to carry out the act of killing. So it's assisted suicide. And once you involve somebody else in that process, you change all the dynamics in medical relationships and personal relationships as well. There's evidence where legislation like this has gone through that people who want to see a relative dead so that they can gain from their assets have pushed them into having lethal injections. And it's impossible to guard against that. I'm very struck that the lead counsel in the trial of Dr. Shipman, who killed so many of his patients, the lead counsel, Lady Justice Swift, has written to me setting out why she doesn't think this law should be changed. The last thing we need are Shipmans coming into our homes, into our hospitals, being pushed as well by relatives who would perhaps share the assets with a medic who had financial gain to make as well. So we have to be very, very careful about changing the law and realise that once it's changed, incrementally, it'll get worse and worse and worse. It starts with a small measure, and before you know it, you even have, as in Holland, euthanasia directed at children. We're constantly told about the financial pressures that the National Health Service is under, and it's well known that some people inside the administrative parts of health services have pointed to the savings that can be made if you introduce euthanasia. This isn't a new idea. It originated in the 1930s, and here we are thinking about it seriously all over again. Yes, it's more expensive to treat someone, to care for them, to look after them, but that's the hallmark of a civilized society. We shouldn't be putting this kind of value on someone and saying their life is not worth living, but mine is. So when people say it's just my right to choose, putting me, my rights first, they're not looking at what the wider societal impact will be. And although it is always true that some people will not have had the medical care that they are entitled to, will not have been given proper pain relief, there are examples of that, but hard cases make bad law. And once you open the floodgates, this will go from small measures in hard cases to becoming easily, readily available, and people being pushed into euthanasia. The Hippocratic Oath is all about doing no harm. So giving someone a lethal injection or poisoning them is the opposite of that. So it puts a doctor into a position of doing the opposite of their calling. They're called to care, not to kill. You can't mix up those two ideas. So we've got to have our eyes wide open. Once you change the rules, once you change the law, a different breed of doctor is going to start to emerge, and they will become utilitarian in their outlook. They will start to find it easy to just kill this patient or that patient. Once you've started on that road, it's very hard to stop it. The one other thing that I think people should keep in mind is that over 40 years ago, we were told that when the law would be changed to allow abortion, that it would only be in very hard cases. There is now one abortion every 2.5 minutes in the United Kingdom. There have been 10 million. That was never in the minds of those who introduced the legislation in the first place, but it's got wider and broader as the years have gone by. So, for instance, we now have abortion up to and even during the birth of a child in the case of a disability. 90% of all babies with Down syndrome are now routinely aborted. Or take experiments on human embryos. We were told they would only ever take place in order to advance the knowledge of science and humanity. There have been millions and millions of human embryos now destroyed or experimented on. And the same thing will happen with this, that if we say that because of this hard case or that hard case, we are going to introduce assisted dying, euthanasia by another name, then wake up in another 10 years from now, it will be routine, it will be spread out throughout the whole of the UK, it will become normative, and we will all be the losers as a result.